And today, me and my group members Miguel, Melissa, and Emmanuel will be sharing some statistics related to mental health in inmates, as well as talking about how prisons accommodate those with mental health and how the correctional facilities can better improve services for inmates with mental illnesses. In 1957, prisons became acceptable mental health care facilities once California legislators passed the Short-Doyle Act in response to the growing number of mentally ill being confined to public hospitals. However, the number of people with mental illnesses in United States jails have continued to grow. 2 million people with mental illnesses are booked into jails each year. Nearly 15% of men and 30% of women are booked into jails with a serious mental health condition. Once in jail, many individuals don't receive the treatment they need and end up getting worse. According to prisonpolicy.org, 66% of people in federal prisons reported not receiving any mental health treatment while incarcerated, and 37% of people in state and federal prisons have been diagnosed with mental illness. They stay longer than their counterparts without mental illness. When a person with a mental illness is released from prison, they are given little medication and are often without any family or support system. Without proper treatment or support, this causes released inmates to be a potential threat to communities, and they could likely be sent back to prisons. Law enforcement has been put into a tough spot trying to deal with this problem, as it is more of a healthcare issue. Compared to the standard inmate, mentally ill inmates cost more to take care of for multiple reasons, and staffing is a major problem when it comes to correctional facilities. Correctional officers need to be better equipped to manage the needs of mentally ill populations. Correctional facilities are not an appropriate place for people with mental illnesses, and they continue to struggle to meet the major needs of the increasing number of inmates with mental health conditions.
As it stands, the prison system has a very specific purpose. It is a place for inmates to serve out their sentencing. That being said, the primary focus of prisons is not rehabilitation. The prison environment can become very hectic. Crime doesn't stop once criminals are in prison. It simply becomes confined to a smaller space. Officers receive training to keep prisoners in line while serving their time, but their training isn't specialized to help inmates with mental illnesses. Personal convictions are often discouraged between officers and inmates. The best that prisons are currently doing is assuring that they aren't the cause of mental illness. One practice that has garnered a lot of controversies over the years is solitary confinement, stemming from the Pennsylvania model as a way to turn inmates to self-reflection and repentance. However, most believe that depriving a human being of social interaction for days, months, or even years is inhumane. However, studies such as the Colorado study from Colorado Penitentiary tracked the effects of solitary confinement over the period of a year. What they found is that solitary confinement has little to no negative effects on the inmate. This is a small win, however, since it only serves to show that one aspect of the prison system is not harmful.
Hello everyone, my name is Emmanuel Rangel. The area I'm focusing on specifically is on mental health illnesses and psychiatric units to be specific. Being a criminal justice student and working at a mental health facility, I get two perspectives of how resourceful both facilities would be. Prisons tend to have more of a punishment aspect and kind of structure versus a psychiatric unit, although we do have some form of structure like a prison where it's locked doors and certain rules and boundaries that have to be obeyed, such as rules. We tend to provide a safe environment where individuals who suffer from mental crisis such as depression, psychosis, alcohol abuse, substance abuse, tend to get enough resources and help to help them go back into the community and continue their life basically. We do get a diverse amount of individuals, whether it's the first time here or the 100th time these individuals have came in. We tend to get a variety of everything. You get to see how your community is and what your community and these people go through every day. In my personal opinion, I do believe that psychiatric units are very helpful and resourceful to our community.
Hello everyone, my name is Melissa and today I'll be discussing how prisons can overall improve their mental health care services for inmates. So I feel like the first important thing to bring up is that mental health issues are not being discussed enough, and I feel like people don't realize the impact that being in prison has on inmates' mental health. So I think this problem kind of arises because jails and prisons simply don't do enough for inmates with mental illnesses, and I think this just shows that there needs to be change within the prison system and providing inmates with adequate mental health care services. So because of like this lack of treatment, a lot of inmates' mental illnesses are going untreated, and they say that prison is like designed to help rehabilitate people, but how are people supposed to get rehabilitated if they're not being provided adequate mental health services? So when I was conducting my research, I basically tried to find solutions or ways that prisons can improve their mental health services, and what I found throughout my research is that there is a need for a screening process. And basically what this means is that when inmates enter prison, they need to go through like a screening process to determine if they have a mental illness, and then with that information from the screening process, a mental health care professional can decide what is the best treatment for an inmate with a mental illness. And then I also learned that it's really important for correctional officers and prison staff to go through like extensive training of mental health and learn how they can best help inmates when they're going through mental health issues. And then I also learned that it's really important for inmates to spend more time out of their cells and engage in purposeful activities. So activities like this could be like maybe a writing, poetry, something like that, maybe painting, gardening, just anything that can keep them like distracted and not only focus like in their mind that they're in prison. And then another thing was that aftercare is really important, and basically what this means is that a lot of people only consider that inmates need like treatment while they're in prison, but it's also important for inmates to continue getting treatment even when they're released from prison, because if they don't continue on getting treatment, then it'll lead to like issues of recidivism, and inmates will reoffend again because they stopped getting their treatment once they got released from prison. And then another thing that I learned about in my research is that it's important for prisons to give inmates access to either one-on-one counseling, group counseling, family counseling, whatever works best for each inmate.